On my 27th birthday, my aunt gifted me a luxury car. That night, my jealous sister secretly set it on fire, then flew to Switzerland, leaving me a cruel text. Now enjoy your gift. But what she didn't know was that when she landed at the airport, a shocking surprise was waiting for her. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I grew up in Dallas, Texas. If you had asked me a year ago what my life looked like, I would have said it was ordinary. I worked hard, lived modestly, and tried to keep things simple. I'm 27 now, working as a marketing manager at a tech firm downtown. I like to think of myself as grounded. I've never been one for drama. But my family has a way of pulling me into storms I never asked for. The person who's always stood by me is my aunt, Margaret Lawson. She's my mom's sister, a strong, sharp woman in her early 50s. Aunt Margaret made her name in real estate and built a fortune from nothing. She's glamorous, witty, and not afraid to speak her mind. She has no children of her own, so she poured much of her love into me and my older sister, Rachel. She always told us, money is easy to lose, but loyalty, that's the real treasure. For years, I didn't quite understand what she meant. I do now. Rachel is 29, 2 years older than me, and my opposite in every way. She's an artist, though she never quite found her footing in the industry. One month she'd be painting, the next she'd be trying photography, and then she'd talk about sculpture. I admired her creativity, but she carried around a shadow, like she was always measuring herself against me. We fought as siblings do, but I thought it was normal. What I didn't want to see, was how deep her envy ran. Last year, on my 27th birthday, Aunt Margaret threw me a party. It wasn't small. She rented out a garden space in Dallas, brought in caterers, music, and about 200 guests. Friends, coworkers, neighbors, everyone I cared about was there. I was already overwhelmed by the size of it all. I didn't need anything more than laughter and company. But Aunt Margaret had other plans. Toward the middle of the night, she tapped the microphone and asked everyone to gather. The lights dimmed, and then I heard the sound of a car horn outside. When I walked out, there it was, sleek, polished, and gleaming under the lights. A brand new luxury car. I stood frozen, unable to move, my heart hammering. I couldn't believe it was mine. Aunt Margaret came over, hugged me, and whispered, "You've worked hard, Sarah. You deserve this. Don't ever doubt it." The crowd clapped, and I swear I've never felt such warmth. For a moment, life seemed perfect. But even in that joy, I noticed Rachel. She stood off to the side, her arms crossed, lips pressed thin. She didn't clap, didn't smile. Her eyes burned in a way that unsettled me. I brushed it off, telling myself she was just tired or overwhelmed. After all, big gestures weren't her style. But the truth was right there, staring at me, and I chose not to see it. The party rolled on, music and dancing filling the night. Guests kept congratulating me, taking pictures with the car, and telling me how lucky I was. I tried to thank everyone, but I kept glancing at Rachel. Each time, she was distant, sometimes disappearing into the crowd, sometimes watching me with a look I couldn't place. If I trusted my instincts, maybe I would have stopped what happened next. Around midnight, as people were still mingling, a sudden scream ripped through the air. I turned toward the driveway, and what I saw made my stomach drop. Flames, bright, violent flames, licked up the sides of the car. The luxury car Aunt Margaret had gifted me was on fire, and the crowd was in shock. Some guests ran forward, others pulled out iPhones, shouting, calling for help. I felt rooted to the spot, unable to breathe. My dream gift was turning to ashes in front of my eyes. And then I saw her. Rachel. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't screaming. She was standing near the blaze with the faintest smirk on her face, as if she had just won something. My chest tightened. I wanted to deny it, but deep down I knew. She had done this. Out of spite, out of jealousy, out of some twisted need to ruin me. Before anyone could grab her, she walked away, calm as if nothing had happened. Minutes later, while firefighters arrived and guests tried to console me, my iPhone buzzed. It was a message from Rachel. Just 5 words. Now enjoy your celebration." My hand shook so badly, I could hardly hold the iPhone. My own sister, the girl I grew up sharing secrets with, had chosen to humiliate me in front of 200 people. While I was still frozen in disbelief, Aunt Margaret appeared at my side. Her face was pale, but her eyes sharp. She didn't say much, only placed a steady hand on my shoulder. Later, when the chaos died down, she pulled me aside and whispered, "Don't lose yourself in this, Sarah. She thinks she's clever, but she doesn't know everything." At the time, I had no idea what she meant. I was too busy watching the smoke rise, too busy trying to hold back tears as guests awkwardly shuffled out, whispering about what they had just witnessed. I thought that was the end of it, that Rachel had gotten her revenge and left me to pick up the pieces. But that night wasn't finished. Just as Rachel boarded a plane for Switzerland, believing she had won, Aunt Margaret pulled out her iPhone. What none of us knew was that she had recorded Rachel earlier in the night. Aunt Margaret had noticed her sneaking around near the car and, trusting her instincts, hit record. She caught everything: the lighter, the way Rachel lingered, the flicker of satisfaction in her face. I didn't find out about that recording until later, but that was the seed of something much bigger. At that moment, all I knew was that my world had been shattered in front of everyone I knew, and the one person responsible was flying across the ocean, thinking she had destroyed me forever. But Rachel had no idea her life was about to change in ways she couldn't imagine. When I finally got home that night after the party, I felt hollow. The smell of smoke clung to my dress, and my iPhone kept buzzing with messages from guests who didn't know what to say. Some sent sympathy, others just silence in the form of ellipses. I turned it off and sat in the dark of my living room, staring at nothing. The betrayal kept circling in my head. My own sister. It wasn't a stranger or some rival. It was Rachel. And the worst part wasn't the car. It was the look in her eyes as she watched it burn. It was as if she wanted to watch me crumble. Aunt Margaret came over early the next morning. She didn't knock, she never does. She just walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee like it was any other morning. But her face was serious. She sat across from me and slid her iPhone onto the table. "Sarah," she said quietly, "I know what you saw. I know what she did. And I want you to see this." She tapped the screen and there it was. A shaky but clear video of Rachel crouching near the car, lighter in hand. She looked around, then flicked it, pressed it against a rag near the tire, and stepped back as the flames caught. The camera caught her face as she smiled, a cruel satisfaction crossing it. My stomach twisted watching it. I covered my mouth, unable to believe that it was all there, undeniable. "She didn't know I was behind her," Aunt Margaret said. "I had a feeling. I've seen that darkness in her before, Sarah. I've seen her glare at you when you weren't looking. But I didn't think she'd go this far." I sat back, shaking. Why would she do this? Why hate me this much? Margaret's voice hardened. "Because envy eats people alive. She thinks I favor you. She thinks the world favors you. And instead of facing herself, she destroys what she can't have." I thought Aunt Margaret would suggest we go to the police, but instead, she did something else. She opened Facebook on her iPhone, pulled up her profile, and without hesitation, uploaded the video. I gasped. "Aunt Margaret, wait. What are you doing?" "I'm making sure no one forgets what she did," she said. "She wanted to humiliate you in front of everyone? Then let her see what humiliation feels like." I tried to stop her, but it was too late. Within minutes, comments began to appear. Shock, anger, disgust. People couldn't believe it. Some guests from the party shared it, tagging others, spreading it faster than I could process. By noon, the video was everywhere in Dallas, and then beyond. Meanwhile, Rachel was flying across the ocean. She must have felt triumphant as she sat on that plane, sipping her drink, thinking she'd finally one-upped me. She had no idea the world she was flying into would never look at her the same again. When she landed in Zurich, she texted me again. "I hope you cried all night." I didn't respond. Instead, I sat with Aunt Margaret, watching the comments roll in on the video. People from Rachel's art circles began chiming in, distancing themselves from her. Sponsors she had been begging for recognition from posted polite but cutting statements. "We do not support destructive behavior," they wrote. Her name was suddenly toxic. That evening, my iPhone rang. It was a mutual friend of Rachel's, a gallery owner. "Sarah," he said, "I don't know what to say. I just saw the video. Everyone has. Rachel is finished. No one will touch her now." His voice was heavy, like he pitied her but also couldn't deny the truth. And then, for the first time since the fire, I felt something other than grief. I felt anger rising, but also a strange calm. Rachel thought she had stolen my joy, but she had set herself on fire instead. Over the next few days, the fallout grew. News outlets picked it up, framing it as a cautionary tale about jealousy and family betrayal. Dallas artist caught burning sister's gift in viral video. The headlines read. The more it spread, the more Rachel's name became linked with words like envy, hatred, and destruction. Through it all, Aunt Margaret stayed by my side. She told me not to hide, not to shrink into shame. "You did nothing wrong, Sarah," she reminded me. She wrote her own ending. Don't let her drag you down with her. Still, at night, I found myself replaying the moment in my head, the flames, the smirk, the text message. And I wondered, what was Rachel thinking now? Sitting in some hotel in Switzerland, scrolling through her iPhone, realizing she had destroyed herself in the very act of trying to destroy me. I didn't have to wonder for long. 2 days later, my iPhone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a taunt. It was a single sentence. "You'll regret this." No apology, no explanation, just that cold threat. My hands shook as I read it. I showed it to Aunt Margaret, and she only narrowed her eyes. "She's lashing out. Don't answer her. She's not in control anymore." But I couldn't shake the feeling that Rachel wasn't finished. That text told me she still believed she could turn the tables somehow. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about a burned car or a ruined birthday. It was about something deeper, something darker in her that wouldn't go quietly. The car was gone, my birthday destroyed, but the real damage was only beginning to show itself. I had no idea how far Rachel would go next, or how far I'd be pushed just to protect myself. And yet, in that quiet moment, sitting with Aunt Margaret, watching the smoke of my old life clear, I also knew something else. Rachel thought she had power over me, but the truth was, she had none left. All she had now was rage. And rage is a dangerous thing, especially when it belongs to someone with nothing left to lose. The days that followed were heavy, like walking through water. Everywhere I went, people looked at me with pity, but it wasn't me they whispered about. It was Rachel. Her name had become something ugly in Dallas, and I couldn't escape it even if I wanted to. Strangers recognized me in the grocery store, and I heard them mutter, "That's her sister, the one whose car got burned." It was strange, being connected to a scandal I hadn't asked for. But the truth was, I didn't feel free. I knew Rachel. I knew she wasn't going to disappear quietly into shame. That text she sent me, "You'll regret this," kept echoing in my head. Every night I'd lie awake wondering what she meant. Would she try to come back? Would she try to twist the story? One night, as I sat at the kitchen table with Aunt Margaret, I asked her, "Do you think she'll try something else?" Margaret didn't answer right away. She sipped her tea, then looked at me with those steady eyes. Rachel is angry because she's powerless. And when people like her feel powerless, they either crumble or lash out. Be ready for both. Sure enough, within a week, Rachel's attempts to salvage herself began. She posted long rants online, claiming the video was staged, that Aunt Margaret had framed her, that I had always been the favorite child, and she had been pushed aside. She tried to paint herself as the victim. Some people believed her for a moment, but the evidence was too strong. The recording didn't lie. And the guests at the party, 200 of them, had seen her standing there as the flames rose. Her words fell flat, and the backlash grew sharper. I should have felt vindicated, but instead, I felt exhausted. It wasn't justice that weighed on me. It was the thought of my sister unraveling in public. There was a time when Rachel and I shared everything, when we whispered in our room late at night, laughing about boys and making plans for the future. How had we come to this? One evening, I got another message from her. This time it wasn't a threat.
It was a video call request.
My hands trembled, but I answered. Her face appeared on the screen, pale, her hair messy, her eyes red like she hadn't slept. Behind her was a dim hotel room. "Are you happy now?" she spat. "Do you feel good, Sarah?" Watching me fall apart, I swallowed hard. "Rachel, you did this to yourself." "I didn't post the video. Aunt Margaret did, because she was tired of your lies." Her face twisted. "You think she loves you? She doesn't love either of us. She uses us, Sarah.
And you're too stupid to see it.
You think that car was a gift? It was a leash. You're her puppet." Her words stung, not because I believed them, but because I could see how far gone she was. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was drowning in her own bitterness. "Rachel, please," I said softly. "Stop digging this hole.
Come home.
We can figure this out." She laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "You want me to crawl back to Dallas and watch you shine while everyone spits on me?"
No, Sarah.
"I'll never come back like that. But don't think this is over. You'll see." And then she hung up. I sat there in silence, staring at the black screen, my heart heavy. For the first time, I realized there might not be a way to save her. Meanwhile, the city moved on, but Rachel's story didn't fade. Every time someone shared the video again, every time another headline appeared, I felt that tension return. Aunt Margaret kept insisting, "Let the world handle her. Don't get involved." But I couldn't help worrying. One night, Margaret called me to her house. She looked serious, her iPhone in hand. "Sarah, you need to hear this." She had gotten word from one of her friends in Zurich, a business associate who happened to live near where Rachel was staying. Apparently, Rachel had been seen wandering the streets at night, drunk, shouting about betrayal. The hotel staff complained about her behavior. She was unraveling publicly now, not just online. Margaret sighed, her voice low. "She's destroying herself, Sarah. And she's dragging your name into it every chance she gets. But there's only so much damage she can do when the truth is already out." Still, I couldn't shake the unease. Each day I woke up wondering what Rachel's next move would be. She was too proud to apologize, too angry to stop, and too reckless to think clearly. Then one morning, another video surfaced. This time it wasn't Aunt Margaret's doing. It was Rachel. She had gone live from her hotel room, tears streaking her face, ranting about betrayal, about being hated, about how the world had turned against her. Thousands of people watched as she screamed into the camera, blaming me, blaming Margaret, blaming anyone but herself. It was raw, messy, and heartbreaking. And yet, instead of gaining sympathy, it only deepened her downfall. Comments flooded in, calling her unstable, dangerous, cruel. Some begged her to get help. Others mocked her. Watching it made me feel sick. This wasn't the sister I knew. This was someone else entirely, someone eaten alive by envy. As I sat there, watching her unravel to an audience of strangers, I realized the truth. Rachel wasn't just my sister anymore. She was my enemy. And she wasn't going to stop until she took everything from me, or until she destroyed herself completely. That night, as I lay in bed, Aunt Margaret's words echoed again. "Be ready for both." I finally understood what she meant. Rachel could crumble, or she could lash out. And I had no idea which one was coming next. But deep down, I knew something was building, something that hadn't shown its face yet. And when it came, it would change everything. The weeks that followed felt like walking on a tightrope. Every day I checked my iPhone, waiting for another message from Rachel, another rant, another outburst. Aunt Margaret kept telling me, "Let her spin herself out, Sarah. People like her burn fast and hard, and when the fire dies, there's nothing left." But I couldn't let myself relax. The last words Rachel said to me, "You'll regret this," never left my mind. Life in Dallas tried to settle back to normal. I returned to work, but even at the office, whispers followed me. My coworkers were kind, but I could see the curiosity in their eyes. Everyone wanted to know what it felt like to be betrayed by my own sister, what it felt like to see the video, to read the threats. I kept my answers short. The truth was too heavy to share. One evening, I came home to find Aunt Margaret waiting on my porch. She had that look, the one that told me she had news. She handed me her iPhone. On the screen was another post, one Rachel had made only hours earlier. It wasn't like her previous ones. This one was colder, sharper. She wrote, "If family can turn the world against you, what's left to lose? Don't be surprised if I show up again. Some stories don't end where you think they do." My chest tightened as I read it.
She was planning something.
She wasn't finished with me. Aunt Margaret touched my arm. "This is her last card, Sarah. She wants to scare you. Don't let her." But deep down, I knew it was more than just a threat. Rachel wasn't the type to sit quietly in another country while her name rotted. She had always been stubborn, always desperate to prove herself. If she couldn't rebuild her life in Zurich, she would come back to Dallas and face me head-on. And that's exactly what she did. 2 weeks later, I was locking up my car outside my apartment when I heard a voice. "Miss me?" I froze. There she was, leaning against a wall, arms crossed, her eyes dark but steady. She looked thinner, her face tired, but her presence was sharp, electric. My heart pounded. "Rachel," I whispered. She stepped closer. "You ruined me, Sarah. You and Aunt Margaret. You turned everyone against me." I shook my head. "You ruined yourself. The world saw what you did. Don't blame me for that." Her lips curved into a bitter smile. "Still so perfect, aren't you? Still the little angel everyone loves. But you don't understand. I had nothing, Sarah. Nothing. And when she gave you that car, it was like she spat in my face. Do you know how it feels to be invisible while your sister shines?" I swallowed hard. "I never wanted to compete with you, Rachel. You were my sister. That should have been enough." For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, a softness, a crack in the anger. But then it was gone, replaced by the same hatred I'd seen at the party. "You'll never get it," she said. "You'll never know what it's like to always come second."
But don't worry, Sarah.
I'm done fighting for their love. I'll fight for something else now. Before I could respond, Aunt Margaret's car pulled up. She stepped out, her voice firm. "Enough, Rachel." Rachel stiffened, glaring at her. "You're the reason for this. You made us compete. You chose her." Margaret's voice was steady, but there was sadness in it. "I didn't choose. You chose envy. You chose destruction. And now you're standing in the ashes of your own making." For a moment, the three of us stood in silence, the night pressing in around us. Neighbors' lights flickered on, people peeking through windows. Rachel's chest rose and fell, her fists clenched. Then, slowly, she turned and walked away into the dark. That was the last time I saw her in person. In the days after, she vanished again. Some said she left Dallas. Others said she stayed hidden somewhere in the city. Her online rants grew shorter and less frequent, until they stopped altogether. The storm she created eventually quieted, but the scars remained. People moved on, but I never forgot. Sometimes I still replay that night in my head. The flames, the text, the video, her face as she stood in front of me months later. I wonder if there's a version of the story where Rachel chose differently, where envy didn't eat her alive. But that isn't the life we got. What I did get, though, was clarity. I understood now what Aunt Margaret had meant when she said loyalty was the real treasure. The car burned, the party ended, but the bond between me and my aunt only grew stronger. She showed me that revenge doesn't always come with shouting or fighting. It can come through truth, exposure, and letting someone's own choices destroy them. And Rachel? She became the cautionary tale. The girl who couldn't stand to see her sister happy, the artist who set her own future on fire. The envy that consumed her left nothing but ruins. Even now, I don't hate her. Hate would mean I still gave her power. Instead, I live with the memory, a reminder that betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people who share your blood, and sometimes the only revenge you need is the truth shining where lies can't hide. But still, on quiet nights, I hear her voice in my head, that final warning. Don't be surprised if I show up again. And though the world has forgotten her, I never can. because I know Rachel. I know her anger. And I know that some stories don't end as neatly as we hope. So I wait, not with fear, but with readiness. If she ever does come back, I'll be stronger. I'll be prepared. Because this time, I know exactly who she is, and I know what envy can do when it takes root in someone's soul. That's my story. That's the night my life was set on fire, not just by flames, but by betrayal. And that's the night I learned that the worst enemy isn't always out there in the world. Sometimes, it's standing right beside you, waiting for the moment you least expect. And even now, I wonder if Rachel is still waiting somewhere, planning her return.